I think very good point about the National Unity Minister. And I think one of the preconditions of the National Unity Minister is that they should be mongrels like me. Mixed breed and very, very complicated. But let me go back. I have specific questions, and then I hope we can get responses from people. But Prof, you know, as our problems become increasingly surreal, they are surreal, we tend to fall back on legalisms. And I was very interested in what Cheryl said earlier about cultural realities. And there seems to be a conflict or contradiction between constitutional ideals and cultural realities, which is why perhaps the Treaty of Rome can be played out in the way that it did, and so on. Do you think there is enough education on both fronts to make them reconcilable?
I have to beg to disagree with this point that the Constitution has to be subordinated to public perception. You didn't put it that way, but the implication is that the Constitution is not really that important. I have to beg to disagree. The Constitution is a moralizing force. It is an educating force. A Constitution does not only reproduce the pasar malam realities. The Constitution hitches itself to the stars. It tells us what we ought to be. Now, can you think of the Indian Constitution in 1947 taking note of the feelings of the Brahmins and not abolishing caste system? Article 15 says, untouchability is hereby abolished. Whatever the Brahmins may say, that's your problem. Can you think of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 in the USA, which tried to desegregate? Doesn't matter what the whites in power wanted to do. What about the Emancipation Proclamation? Should we empathize with the plantation owners whose businesses would collapse if the slaves were freed? Should we? Or should we say, look, whether your businesses collapse or not? So I think the Constitution is not just a mirror of social reality. The Constitution seeks to shape a society. But I fully acknowledge that the Constitution must not move too far away. And I think that's what the Malaysian Constitution did. It, as I outlined to you, it took note of many of the features of the Malay archipelago. At the same time, actually, it had a number of other elements, like a chapter on human rights. I think education is important indeed for unity. I have to beg to disagree with you on that. Education cannot only be for preparing people for a successful life. Then that's not education. That's like, yeah, that's capitalism. And that's basically like sending people to a technical college to teach them how to run an engine or to how to... education should impart values. Education should civilize people. Education should make people grow better. But I agree. I think the best way to look at the situation is this. The aims of education are multiple. Creating a united nation is certainly one of them. Social engineering is another, whether it is the Malays or the scheduled castes in India or the minorities in the USA, and of course preparing people for a profession. That is the obsession today. It is the obsession today. And that's why actually we don't teach humanities anymore. Our students don't know any of the works of literature. I went to the USA to study as an undergraduate, and in my humanities course, there were the following books prescribed: Homer's Iliad, Plato's Republic, the Bhagavad Gita, the Holy Quran. These were prescribed books, and they were not prescribed as books of religion. They were works of literature, and actually we all had to. But by the way, I became a better Muslim after reading the Holy Bible, because sometimes actually it's not because the Holy Bible, it's a beautiful piece of literature, the New Testament, King James Version, but it's just that you see the differences which actually help you to understand your own religion. So I think education should be broad-based. I don't think this issue of national unity should be overemphasized. I agree with you, national unity will come. To me, national unity is respect for diversity. A lot of exaggeration of national unity as if it involves common values. What common values? In my own home, there are no common values. My wife likes durian, I don't like durian. My son likes cats, I find them a nuisance. They come and sit on my computer when I'm typing. What common values? Just that we respect each other. Human beings, even in the same family, human beings have very different values. Values are relative. I think what we have to do is to find commonalities. To me, that's what national unity is, finding commonalities. There is a small core of common values surrounded by a penumbra or a large circle of differences. We have to recognize that differences.
Thanks. Anyone want to respond to that question?
I respond to Prof. Actually, I of course agree that education should have been only teaching the skill to the student, but also instill some of the values or give them some of the values of the life. But the most important thing is eventually the education should be the process of making one person serve the collective interests of the collective interest to the community at the end. So I think we both agree on that. And I do agree that we should teach more about humanity and maybe philosophy, looking at how our society think about the issues of politics today. That is another subject. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Just a quick rejoinder. See, Prof, I get your point that diversity and celebrating diversity is what unity is meant to be, or getting along, coexisting in a way that's peaceful and harmonious and all the rest of it. The only problem is, and I accept again, that factually, everyone's different and you can cut differences any which way. The problem though is social reality and social perception is such that differences are cut and perceived to be cut ethnically. And with that situation or that circumstance, that is why the idea of a set of common values is something that I really aspire to. If it was cut in a way that wasn't ethnicized, then it would be maybe less of a concern. But precisely because society decides and myths are created around certain disparate entities and that are ethnicized, therefore you need a counter myth to sort of ensure that it doesn't go all the way in ways that I think we have suggested we've seen.
So, you want to say something? Okay. Prof.
On this issue of ethnicize, it's you politicians who are ethnicizing things, not us. This ethnicity, everything is ethnicized. Road accidents are ethnicized. It's politicians who are doing that, I'm sorry. Actually, in the villages, in the kampongs, in the neighborhoods, we don't look at it this way. I live in Taman Sapute, predominantly Chinese area. So many of my Chinese neighbors come to my house for Hari Raya, and I go to their house for Chinese New Year. I think in general, we are a very fortunate country compared to India, to Pakistan, to Sri Lanka, to southern Philippines, to southern Thailand, to Iraq, to Iran. I think we are a fortunate country in that respect. But of course, politicians to gain weight, to gain vote, they ethnicize something. May I please point out to you, the concept of a Malay is non-ethnic. Would you believe that? In the Perlembagan, the concept of a Malay is totally non-ethnic. Who is a Malay? He's Muslim. He's Muslim. He speaks Bahasa Melayu. He follows Malay Adat. And number 4, not race. Number 4, either he was born in Malaya or in Singapore, before Merdeka Day, or he is descended from one parent who was so born. The definition is non-ethnic. In other words, a person of Chinese extract, Indian extract, Iranian extract can be a Malay if he satisfies these 4 qualifications. Conversely, you may be a 100% ethnic Malay, let's say from Indonesia or from Brunei. But if you don't satisfy this 4th requirement of birth in this country or descent from someone born in this country, you're not a Malay. So this ethnicity part, really, there is no such genetic category as Malay. It is politically created. Chinese, there are so many different Chinese groups. I came to this country 50 years ago. I never ever in my life called myself about any race. I didn't know what race I am. I still don't know what race I am. But and by the way, it's in this country that the race is emphasized. I have 5 children from the same wife, I assure you. 2 of them are Malays, 1 is an Indian Muslim, and 2 are Pakistanis. How my wife did that, I don't know. I just don't know. It's because the registration officer, he has Buddhi Bichara. He has Buddhi Bichara. So, okay, Indian Muslim. Pakistani, I have nothing to do with Pakistan. And my children are Pakistani. So, I'm sorry, this ethnicity part is an invention in this country. And to make things more complicated, it's confused with religion. Very few countries, if any at all, confuse between religion and race. So this ethnicity is unnecessarily emphasized. The Constitution was not built on ethnicity. The concept of a Malay is a concept like the concept of patriality in the United Kingdom's Immigration Act 1971.